I am Michelle Westgate, and I am the Program Quality Director for District 38. I want to welcome everyone to Voice Fusion. This is the Youth Leadership Program class. Our speaker today is Nuthi, a dedicated Toastmaster and passionate advocate for youth leadership. Uma has been a member of Bluebell Toastmasters since 2017 and hopes to be a lifelong Toastmaster. She served as Vice President Education at Bluebell Toastmasters for 3 years and is currently this year's District 38 Youth Leadership Program Chairperson. Uma considers it a privilege to co-lead a junior Toastmasters program in Montgomery County alongside her mentor, Joanne Wismer. This program perfectly combines her two passions, Toastmasters and working with children, helping to shape the next generation of confident speakers and leaders. Please join me in welcoming Uma Nuthi.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Youth Leadership Program Masterclass. Before I really get into it, I just wanted to each of you to introduce yourself briefly, and I'd like to hear about the reason you're taking this class, if you are involved with the leadership program already, or if you're interested in starting one, or what your interest is. I know some of you your stories already, but we'll just go ahead. So,
I'll
Michelle,
go first. I'll go
Michelle,
first.
you go ahead. Go ahead, Leslie.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Uni, oh my goodness. When I was working through my first DTM, I conducted a speechcraft program for youth, the youth program in an elementary school in the district where I was also serving as the area director, which was quite a distant, which was in a whole nother county than the county I live in. It went really well because the girl who wanted to get it started actually reached out to talk to her mom, who was a current Toastmaster. Hold on. Sorry, I'm talking to my dog. And she was so enthusiastic. She had gathered enough friends that we met, and we went really well for like the session right up until the end of school. That was going on probably a good 8 years ago. And I know that requirements for entering schools are so much stiffer now, even though I'm a current teacher and have my FBI clearance and all that good stuff. I mean, I'm a never retired educator, if that sounds right. So anyways, I'm looking at maybe trying to do something on the public venue, maybe at a local like sports rec center or something like that. So that's why I'm here.
Wow, that's very good. I guess Michelle, you wanna start and we'll go around. You are here because you're coordinating.
I am Michelle Westgate. I've already introduced myself and told you who I am. I'm the District 38 Program Quality Director, and I am responsible for education for the district. So I am here because I also need to learn things, and I'm hoping that I pick up some new ideas from Uma. And as a member of Bluebell Toastmasters, maybe down the road I can also volunteer to help with the youth leadership program. Not this year, don't get too excited, but down the road.
That is such a good point. Even though Joanne and I are doing this program have been doing this program for a few years, we should always be looking for others to join and either take over at some point or just help in some way. We always need volunteers. Yeah. How about Sue? I know you mentioned it before, but for everybody else.
Thank you so much, Uma. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sue Brooks. I'm a member in District 38 of the club Peak Performance Advance Club. And I'm also a member of other clubs in other districts. We'll leave the whole resume for another day.
Yes.
But my interest in youth leadership is I've never conducted one on my own. However, I have helped out at other youth leadership programs with other people in various districts. I'm also always having conversations with people who are looking to earn their DTM, and I let them know that conducting a youth leadership program is one of the three choices that you can choose, that Speechcraft or sponsoring a club, as one of the line items on your DTM journey. So being able to know more about the program to advise them of it, it's ultimately the individual's choice what they would like to do, but having more information helps me help the people I mentor. The other thing that was a lot of fun, I was co-facilitating with my friend Pamela Johnson, who's the program quality director in District 83 and also a member of Peak Performance Advance Club. We did one this summer. It was her program, but I was assisting at every single week. We did the 8-week program, and we did ours totally online. So that was a very different experience for juniors and seniors, rising juniors and seniors.
Right.
I've
Thank you.
also, I don't mean to hog this, but this is important. Anytime any of my clubs, community clubs, have had a presence at a street fair or a booth fair where we're trying to engage adults, there is always a family, a teacher, a school principal looking for information about our youth programs. That's why I'd like to continue to learn more. Back to you, Uma. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue. That was a good idea. I picked up one idea from you. Joanne, my partner and mentor for the Junior Toastmaster program, you want to say
Yes,
briefly about what you're
yes.
sharing?
I'm happy to say that Uma and I have been working together with the 4-H Junior Toastmasters program. We work well together, so that helps. She keeps me on track. And I'm not sure what I do for her, but I know she helps keep me on track. We get so much joy out of watching the kids begin and then seeing how they end. There's always improvement. We've never had someone come that I can remember that we didn't see some kind of improvement in their speaking skills and their confidence. Is really for us about building their confidence. And it's a joy to watch them. So that's why we do it.
Thank you, Joanne.
Sure.
Meg?
I'm Meg Fosco. My home club is Bluebell Toastmasters. I've done many things throughout my 20 plus years as a Toastmaster. I'm here tonight to support Uma. I had the privilege to work with Uma and Joanne for 2 years on the Bluebell Youth Leadership Program, as well as working with people many, many years ago on the program. I've guest you as the Youth Leadership Coordinator, and I'm just here for backup.
Thank you. Jeff, I know you run the virtual program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Cohen. I've been a Toastmaster for over 40 years. Most of that time was without Toastmasters Voice. Recently, along with Joyce, a member of Midday Toastmasters, I have run a youth leadership program for the last 8 years. Before COVID, it was in person, mostly in Mount Laurel and Morristown, New Jersey. Since COVID, it's been virtual, and we've expanded our reach to Pennsylvania and Virginia, New Jersey. And basically what brings me here is that we would typically average between 10 to 15 kids. Last fall, we only got 4 kids. So I realized I had to do some recruiting. So I know I was given some of your names to help us out, get the word out, and basically just wanted to come here and maybe attach a face with a name and pick up some pointers for the future.
Thank you, Jeff. That's a good reason to be here. Adioti.
Hello, my name is Aditya Araba, and I'm the club growth director this year. I'm here because I'm inquisitive. I'm curious to know what goes on in the youth leadership program. And I also had an email from, I don't know his name, but he was looking to recruit mentors for his youth leadership program. So I'm here to find out more about the youth leadership program. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Sorry.
Thank you. David, am I saying your name right?
Yes, good evening. It's Davida. Thank you so much.
Davida.
Davida. Yep. Hi, greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is Davida Riggins. I am the proud president of the Finer Toastmasters Club, which is coming up to be we're going to be celebrating our 1 year anniversary in June. As you can see by my background, we chartered April 23rd. We chartered with 49 members of our sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. We have members across 17 chapters, 8 states, and 3 regions. As we have a personal relationship. One of our auxiliaries are our youth, and we're looking to expand our youth leadership program into the same children that we mentor, students, high school students that we mentor, and we want to recruit this program because we think it's very important to maintain communication and carry that leadership style as they do go on to matriculate into the college platforms, as I think Sue stated earlier. But we already mentor youth from the age of basically from 4 all the way up to high school. And this will be a wonderful conduit of communication to help them improve their communication styles and be able to articulate and speak clearly and not, versus being able to step away from the technology and hold and maintain a decent conversation in person. So we are 100% virtual we're 100% virtual club. And we look to extend what we're learning and enjoying into our youth programs. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, David. Joyce, we met.
I'm Joyce Ruba. I'm with Midday Toastmasters. I've never led a youth leadership program. I have on occasion assisted Jim Samuel with some of his youth leadership meetings in Plainsboro and later in West Windsor. And I've worked with Jeff in his fall 24 leadership class. So I'm here to learn more about how to make youth leadership programs more effective and how to reach out to more people. Like Jeff said, we're trying to do an outreach to get maybe 14 children into his spring session.
Thank you. Jose.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Silva. I belong to the Easy Speak in Millville. It's Club 4414, District 38. I am interested in starting a leadership program in our area, primarily for inner city kids. I was coaching a group of kids for court in their mock trial, and they asked me what they could do to have a good presence in the courtroom. And I said, well, you might want to start with Toastmasters. And that got my brain going that maybe I could start something with the church kids as well as the inner city kids and get them into a trajectory for success. And that's my goal.
That's great. Tia.
So Tia is my wonderful soror. I know she's actually she's actually on another call, so that she might be able to not, at this time, she might not be able to freely speak, but she's here. She is our VP of membership for Finer Toastmasters. She is also an amazing youth PA. She's in charge of all the youth auxiliaries for the entire state of PA. So that she's gonna be my right hand with this youth leadership program. She's here to learn as well with me.
Sure, no problem.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for letting us know. I
Yes.
think we got everybody, Michelle, right? There's nobody else, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. As Michelle said, as someone passionate about helping children and seeing the value of Toastmasters in my own personal journey over the past few years, I feel very privileged to be part of the Youth Leadership Program. I will go ahead and share my screen at this point. Okay, you can see my screen, right? Perfect. Okay. In middle school and high school in India, I participated in a lot of speech competitions and won a few prizes. The sad part was that I never wrote any of them. I just memorized the content written by my dad and must have spit it out well enough to win a few prizes. Looking back, sadly, those were a lot of wasted opportunities that could have helped me expand my thinking, writing, and speaking skills and become smarter and more confident. That's why when my friend Joanne asked me about helping with the Junior Toastmasters program, just a few months after I joined Toastmasters, I jumped at the idea and never looked back. In this day and age of being inundated with technology, some children may be at risk of poor social and conversational skills. Communication, the essence of human connection, is the key to personal and career success. Mastering effective presentation strategies of their ideas, be it in the fields of science, technology, engineering, literature, arts, or finance, could help them achieve their full potential. Ralph Smedley, as you all know, started a Toastmasters Club in 1924, primarily to help young men in YMCA in Santa Ana, California, develop their communication and leadership skills. It's hard to think of a leader who cannot communicate well. It wasn't until 1966 when the youth leadership program was added to serve youngsters in junior and senior high school. So this is the overview of what we will cover today: what a youth leadership program is, goals and purpose of the program, YLP curriculum resources, starting a youth leadership program, some challenges, and a list that I compiled of the YLPs in District 38. What is a youth leadership program? It is a workshop typically consisting of 8 1 to 2 hour sessions for kids between the ages of 12 and 18 to develop their communication and leadership skills by practicing. As my friend Meg always says, Toastmasters is not a spectator sport. Clearly, there is some room for flexibility. Some programs run only 6 weeks. Some programs include even younger children from first grade onwards. It all depends on the interest of the leaders running the programs and the resources available to them. In the workshop, young people will learn effective listening and communication skills, preparing and delivering speeches by learning to use their voice, vocabulary, and gestures effectively, impromptu speaking skills, giving and receiving constructive feedback, and running a meeting smoothly. Toastmasters offers some curriculum resources, the Youth Leadership Program Workbook, and the Coordinator's Guide. It also offers an interpersonal communication kit, which is primarily for non-Toastmasters youth programs led by teachers or other community leaders who work with teenagers. The YLP resources are relatively inexpensive. They're about $8 each, but the interpersonal communication kit comes with a hefty price tag of about $70. I don't believe that most of the YLPs strictly follow these workbooks, which are not available in the electronic format like our Pathways program is yet. Apparently, they're working on it. Starting a YLP. Let's look at the details of starting a program. Who, where, when, what, how, etc. So who is involved in starting a YLP? To run a youth leadership program, you will need students, leaders, and facilitators. You need at least 10 students to effectively run a program so that there are enough students to fill all the roles and for the meetings to be productive. At our program, we generally limit our classes to 16 students, although if there were 17 or 18, I doubt we would ever decline them. Leaders. If you or your club is interested in starting a youth leadership program, it has to be approved by the club's president and the executive committee. It also helps to have a few interested volunteers to fill in when needed and also to help the primary leader. There is really no process for the sponsoring club to officially register a YLP as an entity with Toastmasters International. And then you need facilitators. It's not absolutely necessary, but it is very helpful to have a facilitator, which is different than the leaders, to coordinate all the mechanics of running a YLP, like registration, ensuring availability of space, audiovisual equipment, etc. Typically, the host organization would identify the contact person for facilitating the program. Where? Although it's not required to have a host organization, it does help a great deal to provide the meeting space and hopefully a facilitator, help with advertising and funding that may be needed for the materials. Obviously, that's you won't need the space if it's a virtual meeting, but certainly it helps to have somebody who helps with all the other aspects. The host organization may have their own membership fee and may charge a small extra fee to cover the cost of the YLP materials or the graduation ceremony like 4-H does, like our program does. But Toastmasters are never allowed to charge a fee or receive any financial benefit from this activity. And here I should say, in terms of the funds, if we're giving out the booklets or the manuals to each kid, then that's going to cost some, because each one for the kid is about $8. Like I said, I think most programs do their own thing. I know in our program we cannot afford to get a book to everybody, so we prepare our own materials or copy some pages and hand out the folders. Potential host organizations are places where kids and teenagers might naturally gather, like 4-H, schools, YMCA, public libraries. When? Typically, the program is presented during the school year, in the after-school hours, or on weekends. Most programs are conducted during late fall or winter, like in January, February, which is when we conduct our program, when there's not much outdoor fun to be had, and this would be time well spent. What? The topics covered and practiced are basic speech writing and presenting, like finding a topic, organizing a speech into a beginning, middle, and conclusion, table topics, and evaluation sandwich style, focusing on active listening. The other related topics that we generally cover are importance of introductions and how to write one, connecting with the audience, vocal variety and body language, humor, and interview skills. The kids really love the interview skills session that Joanne primarily leads. And this time we had a special guest who is a human resources expert. So I think the kids really love that. For next year, we are planning to add little bit teaching on PowerPoint presentations, because we find that a lot of our kids are doing PowerPoint presentations. So we'd like to help them improve their presentation skills. We invite our club members to attend as guest speakers and present speeches to our junior Toastmasters to demonstrate these skills. As my friend Meg always says, in Toastmasters, we don't do anything for free. The guest speaker will be evaluated by one of us, and they will get credit for completing the project. The meetings are conducted just like our Toastmasters Club meetings. There is an agenda that includes prepared and impromptu speeches and evaluations. At the end, the Toastmaster of the day will get the roles filled for the next meeting. Then we offer our notes, the leaders offer our notes and observations of things done well and things that can be improved and how to work on them. We actually took this idea of planning for the next meeting into our regular Bluebell Toastmasters Club, and it's been working beautifully. Years ago, we used to have the kids select a president, but this role did not seem to offer much benefit in such a short course and caused unnecessary distraction. So we got rid of it, but instead, this year, we tried having a student co-leader whom we would select. The criteria for being a student co-leader are that they should have attended the class at least 3 years in a row and demonstrate competence and dependability. We're extremely pleased with our co-leader, who is very responsible and has taken some workload off of us, like setting up the room and the tech stuff needed for PowerPoint presentations, making agendas, starting the meeting, etc. How does the youth leadership program benefit you? What's in it for you? You can earn credit towards earning your DTM. You can do that by conducting speechcraft or youth leadership program. Only one member from each club can get credit for DTM per year for leading a youth leadership program. You get the joy of seeing young people grow and seeing them progress so much in a short span of 8 weeks is truly amazing. You see them becoming more confident and more motivated, eager to participate and contribute, and gain insight into their strengths and weaknesses. You might be meeting some future leaders, movers and shakers, possibly a senator, a governor, or even a president. Musicians, engineers, doctors, lawyers, animal and environmental activists, and people who might save our planet. One of our junior Toastmasters, we're pretty sure we'll see him run for some public office when he's eligible to. You feel young and energized and hopeful about our collective future by spending time with these youngsters. And you learn new things about interesting topics that typically we don't get in our Toastmasters Club, like bees, ants, PFAPA syndrome, woodworking, traffic lights, the history of socks. Who would think of that? But I'm telling you, the history of socks is extremely interesting. And many, many, many more such topics. It is truly one of the most rewarding experiences. Every guest speaker has also expressed this feeling to us. It is very reaffirming to see the students come year after year after initially being forced by their parents. We must be doing something right. But there are some issues and challenges that you may encounter while forming a youth leadership program, while forming or running a youth leadership program. Finding a host organization which can provide meeting space, help with advertising and funding the program. Find clearly that that gets a little easier if it's a virtual meeting. Finding facilitators and volunteer leaders. Training may be required by the host organization as well as mandated clearances in order to work with children. Like I think Leslie might have made reference to. Like the child abuse and criminal background clearances, which need to be done every 5 years. Our program 4-H requires us to complete training on reporting child abuse every year. And as Jeff and Joyce alluded to, attendance can be a struggle. One year we had just 6 students enroll. So unfortunately, we did cancel the session because it does take a lot of effort and commitment and time on our part. And unless we have at least 10 students, we find it very hard to actually conduct it. I think we only had that experience just 1 year. All other times we typically have 12 to 15, 16 kids. These are the youth leadership programs in our district. The largest youth leadership program in our district is ETS Toastmasters Youth Leadership Program, co-sponsored by 3 clubs, ETS, Bullmasters, and Princeton Toastmasters. It's conducted in Ewing, New Jersey, for kids in grades 1 to 12. So it's a very big program. I believe they have about 300 kids or so, or maybe 200 kids and 30 leaders. So it sounds like a very well-oiled machine. Midday Toastmasters, which is conducted by Jeff and Joyce helping, is a virtual Toastmasters program for students in the 5th to 7th grade. I'm sorry, 5th to 8th grades, 5th to 8th grades. Since it's virtual, there is no fee for this program. Conestoga Toastmasters also conducts a 6-week youth leadership program at a public library in Lancaster, PA, for ages 12 to 15. And this is our club. Joanna and I are involved in. Bluebell Toastmasters, our home club, sponsors the program. We call it Junior Toastmasters at the 4-H of Montgomery County in Collegeville for kids 12 to 18 years old. The students do have to register in 4-H, and 4-H collects a small fee, probably about $10 or $20 to cover the cost of certificates and the little graduation program. We have tried to improve the program over the years based on the feedback we get from the students at the end of the session. For example, we extended the time of each class from 1.5 hours to 2 hours and added a 5 to 10 minute break in the middle, which helps the kids socialize, which is really nice to see. This is some of the feedback we got from our students. You can certainly read what they said. In response to the question, what did you learn that was most valuable? Some of the responses we got were eye contact, not to use filler words. Practice has been the most helpful. Table topics help with speaking on the fly, learning how to command the room, importance of connecting with the audience to be more confident, learning that the audience wants you to succeed. And one of the kids said he learned that I can be as funny as at the podium as I am every day. Also learn to slow my pace and speak clearly. In response to the question, what did you not like about the program? The typical answer we get is either nothing that we didn't like, or how early I have to wake up, and any suggestions for improvement. These are the suggestions we got. Make the tip longer and stronger. Add a 10-minute break. Have more classes. We don't have enough classes to practice. And in response to the question, will you return? We get responses like, my mom will make me, or yes, I feel I'll improve more. So these are some of the responses we get we got from our students. To wrap up, youth is the hope of our future. Good habits formed in youth make all the difference, said Aristotle. Good things learned in youth have a tremendous compounding effect throughout life. Let's help our children speak clearly and effectively. Well-spoken words are worth much and cost little or nothing. Who doesn't remember a mentor or a role model from their youth who had a positive influence on them? We all do, right? You could be that mentor for a young person. It literally takes a village for a child to grow up well, and we can all play our part in that village. So become a youth leadership program leader. And of course, I am preaching to the choir because that's the reason you're all here anyway. So that ends my presentation. And thank you. If there are any questions that I can answer.
Hi, I have a question, Uma. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation.
Sure.
Yes, I wanted to know, and just feedback from this audience and for anybody who is part of a youth leadership program or has experience, what time of the year do you usually run the programs and what's been most successful? Because like you said, usually the school year gets started, kids are into all these extracurricular activities. So it just triggered that question when you said how early we have to get up, right? Because you want to catch a student when they're awake, but you don't want to take time away from them when they have homework and other things and other commitments to get to. So just trying to figure out what's some feedback on the best time of the year to launch OYLP.
Sue, did you want to answer that, or I see you raise your hand?
Please and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This is a whole different take on what Uma had described in her presentation. But the one that I co-facilitated with Pamela Johnson this past summer, it was in the summer. The students and their parents requested that we do it during the summer. And their rationale was they don't have the burden of classes and extracurricular activities. And this way they could devote their time to the learning. We had hours once a week on consecutive Monday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. And we did implement that break. We did have a small group. Uma would be like, no way. We had 5 students.
Can I ask you if it was in person or virtual?
virtual. It was from students in the Monmouth County area, in Monmouth County, New Jersey. It was kind of on the border where District 38 starts and goes south. And they were all wonderful. It was all ladies, all young ladies, but we did it. And we did exactly what you stated, Uma, and that is we got other people to help. For example, Pamela's our program quality director. So during her course, she had to go to training for her district leadership role. So we knew this proactively, she wouldn't be there. So just like you stated, Uma, she had arranged for another person from our club, the club who was sponsoring the youth leadership, to sub. So it was two of us. It was myself and a gentleman named Mr. Pete. So that was the other thing that's interesting, how you call what you call them, what you have the students call you. Mrs. So and so or Ms. or Mr. So and so of your last name seems a touch too formal, much like school. So we said, how about they call us like Ms. Pam and Miss Sue? And we can call him Mr. Pete. So the students were relaxed with that. So the other thing you were talking about, Emma, in addition to the question that Davida had about the timing, is the funds for the materials. This was sponsored by our Toastmaster Club in District 83. And Pamela approached the the club leadership committee to sponsor. And by sponsor, we would lend our name, but we also provided the financial support for those booklets and the kits that we had to order. As you stated, Uma, the cost at $8 a pop is not that much for the youth guides and the facilitator guides. You know what gets you? The shipping.
Yes, yes, that's true.
So we had ours during the summer.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that feedback, Sue.
That is a good point. As I said earlier in my presentation, everything about this program can be flexible. Like I said, some programs run only 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and typically it's supposed to be for kids 12 to 18, but there's a program in our district that runs for first graders. So everything is flexible. I can tell you what our club does. We run our program in January and February on Saturdays from 10 to 12. And that's how it was run for, I believe, for 30 years. I don't know if that was the same schedule. Maybe Joanne can fill in the history of our program.
It used to be, I believe it was Monday nights.
Ah,
I was working full time, and I believe those were some of the years that I was by myself, and it was too much for me. And I felt that the students were tired at night, and they had to come out and go there. But it was always January, February. So the people before me, that's how they had it set up. And then I thought, why don't we try doing it different? Because it would benefit me. And I felt that the students would also be more alert and ready and not be worried about homework and not be worried so much about sports. We do have some children, even on Saturdays, that have sports commitments. But in January and February, you don't have too much of that. Baseball hasn't started. Soccer, we had this year's one who had volleyball, so that it interfered with her taking the class. But for the most part, we've been pretty lucky with January and February. And I just felt 10 o'clock wasn't too much to ask of the parents to get them there, because the majority of students have to have their mom come. Now we're lucky this year, we have some that drive. Even they've been with us so long, they're driving, which is nice because you can count on them more so than the parents, in my opinion. But I think it's been working very well for Saturday morning. They're home by 12:30 and they still have the whole rest of their day. So it was Monday nights. And if that works for you and your club, wonderful. But I think it's been working well for us. So
Thank you.
I also think, one second, Jeff. I also think it's good to hear that your program ran in the summer, but also a lot of people are out out and about in the summer. So whatever works for any particular group of people. I I did want to say you mentioned about doing the program even for 5 or 6 people, and I can totally understand maybe doing that if it's a virtual program. For in person, I really do find it hard to justify. Not that we can't help even just one kid, but it is a lot of commitment, and Joanne and I both have to drive about 30 minutes each way, or so, and it's a lot to do for very few kids. And then I also think the meetings are just not as lively or engaging. I guess if you have very few students, it'll be the same students, maybe do, and if 1 or 2 of those don't show up on any given day, then you're left with 1 or 2. And so those are the ones that have to do the speech and the evaluation and table topics and the counter and everything. So it didn't make a lot of sense for us. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, as far as the time, Davida, I believe you mentioned yours is also a virtual club. That's what we have a third take as far as there's Saturday and there's at night. Ours is late afternoon and it's 5 to 6. We decided to have it that time because the kids are just got out of school and maybe they've had a short break, but they're not into the nighttime where they might be tired. And also Saturday was pretty much a no-go years ago for my mentors. No one wanted to do it on Saturday, especially when it was in person. They wanted to go right from work to the in-person meetings. And you're virtual. I think after dinner time, the kids are probably don't want to be bothered with speaking or going to a meeting. And again, Saturdays you're competing against a lot of sports activities. So we do it from 5 to 6.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll take this back to our board. I know we as a sorority, we do a lot of community service throughout the weekend. So just looking to see where we're gonna land when we're ready to take on this next challenge within Toastmasters. So I appreciate everybody's feedback. Thank you, Uma.
Of course. I also wanted to mention something about how the leaders want to be called, that Sue brought up. Miss Sue or Miss Joanne. In our club, we insist on, not insist like we punish them or anything if they don't, but we do encourage them to call us Mrs. Wismer and Mrs. Nuthi. And I think the reason being, we do want to keep it formal. It is somewhat of a formal program. It's not sitting around and just goofing off. It's not a social kind of a unstructured activity. It is a structured, somewhat formal activity. And I believe, there is some parliamentary procedure that is followed in the meeting. So in keeping in line with that, we go with Mrs. The other thing I wanted to say was, at least in our club, we have a good number of students who are homeschooled. So some of those students may or may not have the classroom experience in the public school setting. So I know some of our homeschool kids. In the recent class, for example, he just said Wismer, Nuthi, and not that we are personally offended or anything, but we do want them to learn the more accepted traditional way of greeting adults and so on. So, Sue, did you have, were you raising your hand or I forget?
I was scratching my head, sorry.
All right. Anything else that anybody else wanted to discuss? Or I'm not sure I covered everything that folks wanted to learn or hear. Go ahead, Sue.
Thank you. I was going to say one more thing. Earlier, approximately a year ago, not only did I help Pamela with hers, but our international president, Roddy Spear, had a session with a fellow Toastmaster from one of her clubs up in, I think it was Hunterdon County or something in New Jersey. And she invited me to be a guest presenter, as she did with other people who she knows from her various clubs, to be a guest presenter for the youth. And they had an enormous number of students in their session. And I was, as you stated, Uma, good best practices to have the guest presenters get Pathways credit for their presentations. We arranged in advance that I would present a speech, Roddy would evaluate me, but also for practice, she had printouts of my speech project and had every single student provide me with written feedback on a form. So not only did I get my official evaluation for my speech project from Roddy, but I also got feedback from every single student. So that's another way of twisting it up or changing it up to provide feedback for your guest presenters and to give the students experience learning how to be an effective evaluator.
That is a brilliant idea, I have to say. I know when I give my speech, I usually ask Joanne to evaluate. We evaluate each other, but even though we may or may not have time for all the students to verbally deliver their evaluation in the meeting, I would love to get their their evaluation of my speech. So Joanne, that's a great idea. I'm going to write it down. Every year after our session, Joanne and we have a Zoom meeting to review how the session went, and we literally take down notes and write lessons learned. We take all the input from their feedback, from the students' feedback, and while it's still fresh in our minds, we write down all the lessons learned, and then around November, when we are thinking about the program again, all this would be gone, but we have our email to refer back to. So that's a great idea. I'm going to add it to our lessons learned from this meeting. Thank you. That's a great idea. Yes, Joanne?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that if someone is working with you for the purpose of attaining their DTM, we feel it's important that they do quite a bit of the work. You are getting credit for something that's a project, and we all know speech craft can be a lot of work and a lot of time also. So we feel our Junior Toastmasters program should also be work for them. They can't just come to the meeting and sit there and do nothing and get credit for earning their DTM. That's how we felt about, or how I felt. I shouldn't speak for Uma, but that's how I felt. So when we've had people come in, they do work. They do the agendas sometimes. Now we were lucky to have co-leader, but if we had someone else, it's they have to do the work and take it off of us. So I just wanted to note that if you do have someone coming in to get their DTM, or if you want your DTM and you're not going, you're going to run it yourself, of course, you're doing all the work and that's your DTM. But if we have found people want to come in and work
Yes.
with us, but they absolutely have to take some of the work off of us and put in the time and effort.
Right, to earn your credits, you have to put in the work. And also, we have had somebody approach us to co-lead the program with us to get the credit. However, they seem to have a hard time making the commitment. Either the time wasn't good or they couldn't do it for 8 weeks. So the other thing is all this takes some planning. So you cannot, just because our program starts in January, you cannot contact one of us and January 1st and say, hey, I want to do this, because 4-H requires that we do the child abuse training, and we have to register into the 4-H program. We have to register as volunteers. So there's a process. So it needs some planning. Yes. Thank you, Joanne. I forgot to mention. Yes, Jeff?
I just wanted to add, we try to make table topics fun for the kids. And so just wanted to throw out some ideas. We do Shark Tank table topics. We do Jeopardy table topics. I also play guitar. We do musical table topics. So, and that's the way I really approach Toastmasters. So I try to do unique table topics. So that's just something to consider.
Jeff, could you just say those again
I
before
do
the music one?
Shark Tank, which is based upon
Shark Tank, yeah.
right. I pick stuff up from the house and ask the kids to try to sell it. And I do Jeopardy. So I have categories, Disney, for kids, like Disney and sports, school supplies, whatever. And I use those for make it
I got
fun.
it. I just don't hear well. Thank you so much, Jeff.
You're welcome.
So Jeff, are you giving the table topics in your classes?
That's an excellent point. And I'll say this, that I run these kind of contrarian to Toastmasters. And just to give you a brief history, when I first started getting involved in this, and I had the Toastmasters manual, and also one of our members did work for ETS, and ETS has their own manual. And when I started reading Toastmasters manual, as you mentioned, Uma, they talk about electing officers. And then also they talk about the kids running the meetings. And I said, my gosh, we're going to elect officers? I did not view this as a Toastmasters meeting. I view this as public speaking for the kids. And it seemed to me too many moving parts for the kids to, obviously officers were out, and then for the kids to run the meeting also seemed like a lot of moving parts. Now, one of my co-mentors one year, she said she would like to run a couple of meetings, and she had the kids run the meetings. And again, you have kids not showing up who might be team mods. You had some kids not showing up. It was okay, but I didn't see that added much. So, right, I do all the roles. And the kids basically do the public speaking. They do evaluate their co-students. And then the mentors, they would Joyce help me out, and I will do another evaluation, maybe just for 20, 30 seconds on the kid speaker and also on the evaluator. But basically, right, the kids do not have roles the way I run the meetings, and especially virtually, I think it's virtually impossible for the kids to do the roles. But even in person, I didn't have the kids do the roles.
Yeah, what was the age range you were working with again?
What, excuse me?
What is the age range?
Oh, it's 5th through 8th grade.
So your group is younger
That's
than
another
ours.
yes.
We're doing 12 to 18,
Right.
and we're introducing leadership to them, which is a little different. But as you say, I think it's every group has the freedom, but that's the idea here. There's a lot of things to consider: your age range, what you're
Sure.
expecting. And it's one of the reasons why UMA stresses that for us, in conjunction with the 4-H, we need a fairly good sized group to distribute all those roles. So, but I still loved hearing your suggestions, because we can always give the kids some ideas for how, when they always struggle the first meeting or so, if they're the table topics masters, so they're great ideas. That's
Can
a
I
different idea.
I'm sorry, Meg.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, finish. Can I ask you how you do musical table topics?
I do
Is it
musical
for music related themes, or your
So for instance, I play guitar anyway. Been trying to still get it down after 20 years, but I do play it. And basically, I'll say the first one, I always begin with the first one, make it easy, happy birthday. So I'll play it. I ask the kids to guess it. And what's your best birthday ever? And that's how I'll do it. Then I might play Let It Go from Frozen. I say, I say to the kids, who guesses it, and whoever guesses it, what's your favorite Disney movie ever? And basically, we go with that.
Ooh. So as Meg said in our meeting, we let the kids conduct the whole meeting. After just the first time, Joanne and I kind of tell them how it works, but after that they run all the meetings.
And they've been doing really well with choosing themes. It's usually
yeah.
music, books, things like that. So, and then all the introductions should be, not always, but most of the time are related to the theme. So, but we,
as well
like,
as the table topics.
Yeah, and table topics are related to theme. But as Meg said, I believe we try to stress the leadership part even more so than everything else, really.
And 4-H is a leadership organization, correct? So
Yes.
that's an important part of that. Yes.
Yes.
Now we bring this theme idea because our club, Bluebell, our home club, Bluebell, we do always have a theme for our meetings. Table topics built around it, introductions built around that. That comes naturally to us, and the leaders will demonstrate that the first meeting. But we are also lucky because we have returning students. We've had entire families go through that. And one year when I was working with Joanne and Uma, a woman told me that she herself had gone through the program years and years and years ago, and now her children were there. That benefits us because the kids that have been there previous years take the lead in doing the first roles, and they also help bring their fellow younger students along with them. We do have that advantage there with where we have seasoned junior Toastmasters.
And some of our junior Toastmasters have tried some creative ways of doing table topics. One of the kids always rolls a dice, and he'll say, "Let's see what your fate is today," or something like that. So Joanne, I don't know if you can think of other. I know the kids have tried some other creative ways of doing table topics.
Yeah, pull names out of a hat or something like that.
All right, I remember once, didn't they do one of those things like whatever it's called, with the paper.
Yeah,
They
I don't
did.
know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what
Goes
it's
up with-
called, but it's one of those
Yeah.
things, and whatever comes up is what the question they get, something like that.
I would like to add that we are lucky in some ways because we have worked with the same sponsor for many decades. That makes some things for us easier because we have a location provided for us and the sponsor handles the registration. Now, 4-H does charge the parents, I don't say the kids, but the parents, a fee because they belong to the 4-H, although you don't have to be in the 4-H. I think it's a little more. It's like going to the Y. If you're a Y member, you pay X. If you're not a Y member, but you want to do a club, you pay more. We being Toastmasters do not collect any money, nor are we paid anything. But I wanted to point that out because I think there's a few people here. Davida would be one where they're talking about maybe starting up a program, or maybe her group because they're national and they're on Zoom, but maybe some of their people might want to take this out into the worlds they live in. And that makes it a little bit more complicated because then you do have to find a location. Uma mentioned it earlier, libraries, schools, etc. But there's a lot of work in the upfront beginning of a program to find the right sponsor for that. Some people who work for corporations, their companies, if it's not crazy hard to get in with security these days, may offer their space. There are also different rules. For example, if you work with in Pennsylvania, as Uma said, maybe this is everywhere, Leslie might know. If you're working within a school system, and also 4-H, which is through the Penn State system, you have to have your security checks, things like that. There are different levels, so we didn't have to be fingerprinted because of the level volunteer we're not full-time school teachers, but we do have to take the test, the reminder every year about how to spot abuse, things like that. There's some other things we have to take that are state mandated. So I don't want to put anybody off, but I want to say there's a lot of upfront work if you haven't already started a program in finding the right location and the right leaders and somebody to coordinate that, which we are blessed to have 4-H coordinating and registration and enrollment. Now we do advertise it within our club and locally to members that this opportunity where we are located up near us is happening. But it's very different if you're going to start a program of your own. So there's a little bit more upfront work, plus designing the program that you want. Like our program is based somewhat off of the old company communicator manual. We only have X amount of time. So what types of speaking opportunities are we going to teach the kids? What we're looking for, like the beginning, some of the basics. We do an icebreaker, and then the crafting the opening, middle, end. We do work toward trying to give an inspiring speech. So we're picking out, we don't have 10 weeks of programs, but we tried to pick out what are some key things that a young teenager could still use and incorporate into their schooling and perhaps preparing for college. That's something that's up to each of you to decide what I want to do with the program. Others may feel differently. I do want to say that I found the current materials from International are totally different. I think it was Jeff that said he totally ignores it. And I would almost agree with that. That's heavily centered more on leadership. They've not been updated in a long, long time. They really need a committee of people who are really down in the trenches like we are with these programs to perhaps coordinate updating that material. But that's something you'll have to look at as well. And you'll find it's trial and error. You might be real happy with what you put together. Even Joanne and Uma and those of us that have been with the program a long time, they're always tweaking based on kids change, the times change, but our essence is still the same. But I did want to throw out that there are some other things to consider if you're looking to start up a program or people are coming to you and asking you about that you might have to look into locally. But the biggest thing is to find a venue, if you're not online, that is safe, well lit, a place that parents feel comfortable bringing their children to. And I'll shut up.
So I have a
Yeah, good
question,
thought.
Uma.
I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
have a
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so you said you do provide the platform for somebody that is looking for their DTM. They can come to you to do the program, or is that something you said, but they have to do the work?
Correct. If they want to get credit, they can approach either Joanna or I or any other youth leadership program leader and just work with them to make sure they do the work. That is correct. Yeah. The other thing I just wanted to mention that I thought of as Meg was speaking was we do encourage our kids to practice any of their class presentations. Like we really try to make it relevant for them. So some of our kids have practiced presentations that they had to do in their classes, and they say it was helpful. We also had one kid who is a student board leader, or he has a role in the student leader board, student board, I guess. And unfortunately, in that case, he asked us to review his presentation after it happened, retrospectively, possibly, although it might have been a spontaneous thing. I don't know how prepared he was, but we do encourage our students to reach out to us if there's any way we can help them with their speaking engagements and roles, presentations, etc.
All right, Uma, it is 8:18. We are 18 minutes over the time that we were going to close the meeting out, but the conversation has been great. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this presentation. Uma, do you have any final words for everyone who is here tonight?
I just wanted to say it is so nice to see so many people interested in helping our youngsters. And I really, really appreciate everything that everybody does to help the younger generation.
Thank you, Uma. Can we give Uma a round of applause? Thank you for this wonderful presentation this evening. I'm sure that all of you learned something because I know that I am taking some things away in my bucket of knowledge.